So Devil May Cry is a pretty straightforward series about the bonds of family and the consequences of losing your humanity in the pursuit of great power at all costs. As well as being about tossing motorcycles at people, surfing on missiles, and saying the most badass shit you can possibly come up with. Now, if you've already watched the new Netflix series, you'll already know they went a slightly different route. And due to those changes, there are plenty of people calling this new Devil May Cry adaptation on Netflix the worst adaptation of all time. Now that's a title that gets thrown around a lot recently, and there is some pretty stiff competition. Is the criticism of disrespecting the characters and lore of the source material valid, or is it overblown? Well, let's find out by taking a look at how well or poorly each character in the series has been adapted from the original games and rank them from the worst to the best, seeing exactly how much has been changed and contrasting if there's much of a difference between the two ends of the spectrum. To do this, I'll dual-wield my devil-resistant 3C system to rate every single character adapted into this show and rank them by how well or poorly they're rated as an adaptation. For those of you just joining us, those 3Cs are costume, character, and continuity. Costume rates a character's outfit or costume, their overall look, and their superficial physical characteristics. Character rates their personality, their relationships with others, and their powers or abilities. And continuity rates their origin story, their iconic moments, and their overall place in the world. Before we start, let me say again, a character's ranking on this list is not a commentary on if they're a good or bad character, or even if this is a good or bad show. Only a commentary on how well or poorly they've been adapted from the original games and expanded media in relation to each other. So, enough preamble, let's rock. So starting our ranking at the absolute bottom, with a character I'm sure most fans already know was just the inarguably worst adapted character in this show by far, at number 18 with Lady. Lady started out life as Mary. When she was younger, her father murdered her mother in a ritual to gain demonic power. She renounced her name as it both connected her to her father and she felt no one deserved to call her that but her mother. Later in life, she learns the location of her father and goes on an unrelenting mission to kill him, carrying around a large missile launcher she's named after her lost mother. She is consumed with rage and a hatred for evil, and this comes out when she meets Dante, shooting him rather than accepting his help and completely distrusting him due to his demonic nature. As she never gives him his name, Dante takes to calling her Lady, and as they bond over their troubled families and fight together, she learns to trust him despite his nature and takes Lady on as her new name after finally killing her father. In the show, they kept the origin of her father killing her mother and tossed away pretty much everything else. The show version's name is not Lady. She never renounced her name. Her name is just Mary Arkham, and people call her it many, many times. Dante only calls her Lady since he didn't know her name at the time, and even after she corrects him, he just keeps calling her for some reason. This completely undoes the entire purpose of her having a weird name like that, and it removes a lot of her characterization. So, I won't be calling this character Lady anymore, since that's just not her name. Instead of being a loner who refuses help from others in her pursuit of revenge, Mary is a member of Arkham, a demon-hunting organization affiliated with the government, where she works with a group of other soldiers she shares a close bond with. She's got a somewhat similar hairstyle to her first appearance, and she does have the multicolored eyes, but everything else about her appearance is just completely changed. She's much taller and more muscular than in the games, and instead of wearing any of the different outfits from across her appearances, her and all of Arkham wear Captain Commander cosplays instead. In one flashback, you see her in an outfit similar to her DMC 5-1, but I ain't giving credit to a half second from behind Easter egg. While the lady in her original appearances had a bad attitude, this fucking virgin fucking swears every other fucking word. Why the fuck does she say fuck so fucking often? I don't fucking know. I suppose they thought the way she talks in the games was too boring or something, and had her drop F-bombs like a middle schooler who just discovered the word for the first time would be fucking badass as fuck or some fucking shit. She shares a hatred for demons and evil, but in the show she is able to drop that lifelong hatred much quicker, not shooting a family of human-like demons even after she's drugged out and hallucinating because they tell her they're innocent victims. While in the game she straight up shoots Dante in the head multiple times for no fucking reason, including while he's in the middle of saving her from falling to his death, and he actually just looks pretty much human. And though she does form a bond with Dante across the series, instead of becoming a close ally at the end, she straight up betrays him, injecting him with something that allows Arkham to take him in for containment. Besides her origin, elements of her hairstyle, eyes, and her hatred of demons, this is just not the same character in any way whatsoever. And that's a shame, because Lady is one of the coolest and most popular characters within Devil May Cry, and though I do love Commander Shepard too, this isn't a fucking Mass Effect show. Now up to 17 with The White Rabbit. White Rabbit actually comes from a spin-off manga series. In it, he is a demon who looks like a large bunny rabbit in a suit. We learn very little about him. It is implied he looks like a bunny due to possessing the doll of a young girl named Alice who Dante has been hired to save. We later learn that the White Rabbit was the one who secretly hired Dante for that mission, with the claim that it was in order to see the heir of the legendary Sparta in action, though we don't actually learn a lot about him. In the show, they took the design and nothing else. Instead of a demon, he's a human who's been transported to the demon world, and after being pursued by larger demons, met a bunch of friendly human-sized ones he becomes good friends with. The air of the demon world is toxic, causing him and his demon buddies to have trouble breathing. Eventually, he creates a device to travel to the human world, but they are confronted by Arkham. All of his human friends are brutally killed by humans, and he goes insane. Due to injuries he sustained, he stays alive with an artificial heart that pumps demon blood into his body, and due to his love of the book Alice in Wonderland, he starts wearing a large rabbit mask. He begins leading a group of demons with the aims of destroying the barrier separating the human and demon worlds in order to end the human world and get revenge against Arkham. Having been driven so mad with rage that he even performs barbaric experiments on the innocent demons he pledged to protect to achieve his goals. In the manga, he shares his philosophy that humans do not value purity and innocence and are willing to trade it to demons for what they truly value: money, beauty, and power. And that though demons will willingly corrupt humans, at least they're honest about what they are, and the unwritten law of all demons is that power is all, matching the themes of all of Devil May Cry. The complete antithesis of the White Rabbit in the show, who sees the weaker demons as oppressed by both stronger demons and humanity. And though he's lost his way, his ultimate aim is to create a world where those oppressed demons can be free at the expense of the human one. They did reference the version in the manga a couple ways. One is that early in the show it was theorized he may be related to a possessed toy of some sort, and the other way is that both versions are the ones to tell Dante that his brother is still alive. Up at 16 we reach Agny and Rudra. In the games, Agny and Rudra are living demonic swords with talking heads at the end of the handles. They are wielded by large headless bodies that guard a large door from intruders. After Dante defeats their bodies, they beg him to take him with them, as their greatest ambition is to be wielded by somebody stronger than them. Dante agrees on the condition that they stay quiet, but they're not particularly good at that. In the show, they are not swords. They're just regular demons with regular heads who use swords similar to their look in the game. They both work under the White Rabbit for his goal to merge the human and demon worlds, though their reasons for working with him are never given. While in the games they are polite and a bit goofy, in the show they have more of an obnoxious, bickering brother's personality. And when Dante kills them, he doesn't even bother to take the swords with him, though he does use them in a scene while fighting. They're the same colors as in the games, they have wind and fire abilities, and their body shape is kind of similar. Otherwise, they share very little in common. At 15 we come to Plasma. In the games, Plasma are an enemy type Dante encounters multiples of. In the show, he's a specific character. Both versions are made of an electrical substance and have the ability to copy the forms of others. In the game, their standard form, when not transformed, is bat-like, while in the show, it's more humanoid, though he does take a bat-like form at one point in reference to this. In the games, they really have no personality and are basically just evil enemy monster types. And while the show humanizes most of the demons we see, they especially do with Plasma. All the demons want to escape the demon realm, but Plasma is so passionate about the cause that he sacrifices himself to kill Darkcom soldiers when he sees them gunning down innocent demon refugees. Whether there are more of his kind like in the game is currently unknown. But here's the real question. At the beginning of the show, he transforms into a baby to trick Dante, and I have to ask, why does this baby's lips look like that? They're more luscious than his fucking mom's lips. What in the hell is this? Ugh. Now, fortune we reach Cavalier Angelo. Cavalier Angelo in the show is another of the demons who serve under the White Rabbit. Though we don't learn a lot about him, he seems like the strong silent type and seems to have a disdain for humans. In the games, he's not just a regular demon, but a type of artificial demon that needs a living core to function. In the games, its core is a captured Trish, and after Dante defeats it, she is freed. The show version uses the lightning abilities it derived from Trish in the game, but there is no reference to either her or it having anyone in it as its core, though they don't cut him open so we can't know for sure. If they reveal next time that she was in there, I suppose he'd move up a few spots, though that would be a dumb way to bring in such a well-known character, so with this show, who knows. At 13 we come to Akidna. And yet another of the demons following the White Rabbit in the show version. In the game, she's a large demon who attacks people who enters her forest in the demon world. She lays her eggs throughout the forest and threatens to consume intruders to unify them with her children. In the show, she does none of that, but does look fairly similar. We don't learn the details of why she's working with the rabbit either, which is a shame because unlike the other demons, I think they'd actually have material to work with her. Her desire to have more space to lay eggs and have plenty of humans for them to consume could have been quite interesting as a comparison to humans and demons who just want to survive, but their very existence means that humans cannot. But I guess that would have gotten in the way of their whole demons and humans are the same theme the show was going for, so whatever. Now I'm at 12 with a very beloved Devil May Cry character, John Constantine. Now, I know, there are at least two of you out there saying, bro, that's not John Constantine. That's obviously the Devil May Cry character Gru, who appeared in a prequel novel. He wears a tan coat, has blonde hair in the internal art, and he smokes. He worked with Dante in the past, you friggin' idiot. Maybe do some frickin' research before you shit out your garbage clickbait videos, you frickin' hack. Well, to that I say, you're absolutely correct. Well, about this likely being Gru, that last part was a bit mean. Jeez, man. However, I believe that they only use Gru's design as an excuse to put a stealth Constantine cameo in here. For one, he acts absolutely nothing like Gru, instead acting exactly like Constantine's cool, laid-back, and arrogant demeanor. Secondly, he's not named. If you were making this show and you'd been knowledgeable enough about the lore to grab such a relatively obscure character, wouldn't you want to brag about it a bit? At least in the credits where he's just called Demon Hunter? And lastly, the people making this knew that 98% of the audience has no idea who the hell Gru is, and that most people would just assume this was the character he so obviously seems like he is. But maybe they'll bring him back in a later season, confirm his identity, and explore his relationship with Dante. We'll see. Jumping now to 11, we reach Lucia. In the show, Lucia is just a quick cameo when Darkcom is rounding up demon hunters for information. Her look is actually very similar, but we don't learn a lot about her. Her personality does seem different, as instead of being calm and stoic, in the show she seems more like an angry punk, spitting on officers while being interrogated instead of answering them. Though to be fair, it is quite reasonable to be pissed off after being abducted like this. And though it's hard to judge power levels across different media and from such a short part, I doubt that the game version would have been able to be taken in as easily as she was in the show by these jabronis. In the game, she's one of the Guardians who are tasked with safeguarding the island of Ville de Mare from evil. So, what she's doing hanging out in America as a demon hunter, I don't know. Likely based on other characters, if she reappears, the show will likely change that aspect of her quite a bit. And now, up to 10.5, we have Dick Cheney. In both real life and the show, Dick Cheney was the Vice President of the United States, who was popularly thought to be pulling the strings of a president perceived to be just a simple-minded Southern guy. Both versions are known for launching a war on terror that was thought to be used as a front to extract resources from the places they were invading. In real life, it was the Middle East, while in the show, they changed that to hell. Both versions are balding and wear glasses, though in the show he's in a lot better shape than he was ever portrayed in real life. And while in real life, Dante and him actually never met, in the show they, What's that? Oh, this isn't Dick Cheney. It's a completely original character made up for this show who has no basis in the source material whatsoever, named Vice President Baines? Oh. Now, there's nothing wrong with making up a character in an adaptation. I'd much prefer they do that to changing a classic character to fit the adaptation story. But why they felt it was so important to make this Devil May Cry show a 20-year late commentary on the War on Terror, complete with a scene where the United States military carpet bombs hell and exploits their resources while American Idiot plays in the background, and needed to create an entirely new character to tell that specific story? I could not say. However, I loved getting to hear Kevin Conroy one last time. He's great and made Baines my favorite part of the series, even if the Vice President of America really doesn't have a place in Devil May Cry. Call me old-fashioned, but I would prefer if they just adapted the games for the fans like they were hired to do in the first place, instead of making a bunch of shit up. So up to the real 10 with an actual Devil May Cry villain, Arkham. In both versions, Arkham is the father of Lady, who murdered his wife in a ritual to amass demonic power. Both versions are scholars researching the black arts, but the reasons for doing so are quite different. In the games, he was solely interested in amassing power, and was willing to kill his own family in the pursuit of it. In the show, it was after witnessing a demon that almost killed him and his family. So he pours himself into his work to learn how to keep his family safe in the future, but eventually just devolves into madness for reasons we don't yet know, and kills his wife. While in the games, he is a major villain, and Lady knows that he is alive and is actively hunting him down. In the show, Mary believes he died the night he killed her mother, and he has not appeared since. Likely he'll show up in a later season, and we'll get to see if he moves up higher on this list or somehow plummets down below even her. We'll have to wait and see, but I know where I'm placing my bets. And now, at 9.5, we have everyone's favorite Devil May Cry character, who it makes perfect sense to have put in an adaptation of Devil May Cry, Asmin Gold. Now, why would you put a cameo obviously meant to be a real-life contemporary internet streamer in a dark fantasy world like Devil May Cry? Much less basically start your show with it? I don't fucking know. But the creator has basically all but confirmed it was meant to be him when people started asking, so I guess we're doing this now. In the real-life source material, Asmin Gold is a divisive contemporary internet streamer known for reacting to and talking about many different topical and controversial topics, oftentimes being critical of the narratives put forth by mainstream media. In the show, he's basically that, disagreeing with the media narrative on the robbery in the Vatican and claiming that demons from hell are responsible for launching a war against heaven. Both versions are southern, are missing the same tooth, and have long hair. Though, the show version also wears a hat and a hoodie. One of the main differences is that the show version operates out of a well-maintained professional studio, while the original version lives in a rat and garbage-infested hell of his own making. Sure, the guy's known for playing video games, but as far as I can tell, Devil May Cry isn't even one of those games, so unlike the streamer cameos in Five Nights at Freddy's, this does not make any fucking sense to me. Now up to the real 9 with Arius. In the show, we see Arius for 2 seconds at the end as his company, Ouroboros, is mining resources from hell for the American government. P.S. I'm already getting really sick of saying the words American government in a ranking of Devil May Cry characters. It really shouldn't be said even once. Anyway, in the games, he runs a corporation called Ouroboros, and among its many operations, mining is one of them. He is a sorcerer who is trying to release the demon Argosox to gain godlike power. We don't learn enough about him to adequately judge his personality or motivations in the show, since he's just a tease for the next season. But visually, he's pretty similar, the main difference being they give him more facial hair than he had in the games. If all the previous characters are any indication, though, I'm sure that they'll strip him of any of his character from the games and just make him a commentary on fill-in-the-blank modern billionaire or some crap like that. Up to 8, we reach Virgil. We actually know very little about Virgil so far in the show, which is likely why he ranks as high as he does. From what is implied about him, I do expect him to plummet down on the list in a later season, but for now he gets to stay right here. Virgil is Dante's older twin brother in both versions. As children, they had a rivalry, and when their mother was killed, they became separated. In the games, he embraces his demonic heritage and follows a loathsome and ruthless path to gain ultimate power, believing that those without strength cannot protect anything, including themselves. In the show, we do not know the specifics of what he's been up to since childhood, but what we do see paints a very different picture. We see him only a couple of times, as he aids the White Rabbit in merging the human and demon world, and later liberates imprisoned demons from an American detention facility in hell. The fact that he's willingly working for Mundus and saving innocents tells me that this version of Virgil isn't on a lonesome and ruthless path to gain ultimate power, but likely cares about the lives of demons similar to the White Rabbit. I kind of feel like they're planning a story where Dante is on the side of humanity and Virgil is on the side of the demons, and that's what they'll fight over. If so, that would be just wrong. But we don't know enough about his show backstory yet to actually judge, so we'll just have to wait and see. Both versions look very similar, including their blue coats, armored tops, and slicked back white hair. His demon form looks kind of like a shitty version of his Nilo Angelo form from the first game, like if you'd seen it quick and tried to draw it from memory or something. I'm sure there will be a lot to say about him next season, but for now we know very little, and can only guess and nitpick, so let's move on. Up to 7 with Enzo. In both the game and the show, Enzo is an information broker who sets Dante up with jobs. He's not really a big character in the games themselves, he's more so in extended media, including the instruction manual, books, and manga. Besides being short and overweight, they look quite different, with the original version usually dressing pretty classy, and the show version dressing a lot more disheveled. Their personalities are somewhat similar, both are greedy but reliable allies of Dante. Both versions are not fighters, and try to stay away from dangerous situations, and both versions do have an affinity for Dante despite their normally selfish attitudes. In the show, he sacrifices his life to try to save Dante, telling us that their bond is likely a lot closer than it is in the original games. But now at 6, we got the man himself, Dante. So, both versions are the sons of Sparta and the younger twin brother of Virgil. When he was young, demons murdered his mother right in front of him, and later in life he opens a business using his immense power to accept jobs hunting demons. While in the games, he runs his business out of a large building. In the show, it looks like he works out of a much smaller office. His design looks to have taken different elements from different games and tossed them all together. His hair is similar to the cut in Devil May Cry 2. His iconic red coat seems to mostly take inspiration from 4 with the shoulder pads and rolled up sleeves. His shirt at the beginning of the series seems to be inspired by the DMC reboot and later on by the one he wears in 5. And his pants and the strap on his coat seem to have been taken from Devil May Cry 3. All of these games had very, very different aesthetics, and combining them all randomly like this gives them the feeling of kind of looking like Dante while also looking nothing like Dante at the same time. Like the games, he is supernaturally strong, fast, resistant to injury, and able to heal from damage that would be instantly fatal to regular humans. Both versions are also able to shift into a demonic form. However, instead of being all textured and demon-like, the show version is weirdly smooth and flat, making him look a lot less badass and scary in this form. Both versions appreciate junky foods like pizza and live a very casual life when not hunting demons. Now, the game version does not tend to tell people what he's really thinking and feeling, instead choosing actions as his language, and covering himself in his iconic Devil May Cry attitude. The show version has many scenes, though, where he just outright tells other characters exactly what he's thinking and feeling, making him now lack a lot of the mysterious cool guy allure Dante has, and losing the moments of surprising depth he shows across the games when he does open up to certain characters like Trish and Lady. While the show version does have his cocky, laid-back attitude and dorky one-liners, it almost feels like a parody more than an adaptation. Everything Dante says and does in the games is for the express purpose of being as goddamn cool as physically possible. Even when he's saying the strangest, lamest thing you've ever heard or acting like a goofball. It's all in service of being too damn cool to care what some weak little loser would think. In the show, his attitude and one-liners come off as a lot more try-hard. He's written with more of that modern dorky and awkward, but ironically cool and kind of meta vibe that modern writers seem to love so much. For me personally, the way his personality and life are portrayed in this show makes him feel a little more like Travis Touchdown than Dante. While the game version remains fairly casual in insanely dangerous situations, the show version is more prone to feel panic and show outward worry for the dangers towards himself and those around him. I know they're going for a younger, less experienced Dante, but we already saw what the game version of that was like in Devil May Cry 3, and it was just an even more extreme version of how he is when he's older. The brooding and philosophical aspects of him under his outer personality, exemplified in his Devils Never Cry comments, are completely gone as well. The show version is a lot more simple, blunt, and straightforward. Basically, what you see is what you get. Both versions have his iconic sword rebellion, but the show version does not yet have his trademark ebony and ivory guns. But he has expressed frustration at always breaking the guns he has due to his immense strength, referencing material from the extended lore. They put a few references to iconic moments in the game in the show, such as turning on his jukebox to fight, hitting enemies with pool balls, and other little shoutouts like that. So though there are a lot of superficial elements that are similar, I'd say the main complaint people have about Dante's portrayal in this show is that a lot of the nuances of the character are just completely absent and replaced with a stock version of what people who've never played the games think he is. This is a problem with many adaptations, because when hardcore fans complain, they just sound like they're nitpicking, because superficially, all the elements are there, but someone who knows the character really well can see just how different they are. Like when someone you loved is suddenly replaced by a pod person and no one can tell but you, which always sucks. Now entering the top 5 most well-adapted Netflix Devil May Cry characters, starting with Mundus. Now, this one's a bit of a cheat, since we only see a glimpse of Mundus in the show, but like the games, he's a huge presence in the lore of the universe. Both versions are powerful rulers of the demon world. Both versions are betrayed by Sparta long ago and were sealed away. In revenge, they sent demons to kill Sparta's family much later, and both plan to escape their confinement to take over both worlds in the modern day. In the game, Mundus takes a few forms, but from the glimpses we see of him, the show goes with a pretty close version of his bearded statue-like form, also sharing the chest hole containing a glowing core. Besides his look and a basic sense of his goals, we know very little about him so far. Hopefully they don't go with the sympathetic victims of humanity route like they have with most of the game's villains so far, cause that would just be terrible. At 4, we reach Cindy. Cindy is from the Devil May Cry anime. She is a waitress at a restaurant Dante frequents called Restaurant Freddy, where he always orders strawberry ice cream. She has a positive and upbeat attitude and says that her type of men are ones like Dante when asked. In the show, most of that is the same, except that the restaurant is called Freddy's Restaurant, and she comes on to Dante a lot stronger in the Netflix version, straight up leaving her number as she serves him. Their haircuts are virtually the same, and both have a star on their cheek and wear a pink waitress uniform, though in the show the uniform is a lot less playful and more realistic. Now entering the top 3, starting with Kina Anne. In both the show and extended media of the games, we don't see a lot of Kina Anne. Both versions are the mothers of Lady and are murdered by their husbands in a ritual to gain demonic power. While in the original games, the heterochromia of Lady's eyes were shared by her father, in the show it was inherited from her mother. Both versions seem to stand by their husbands even as he devolved into madness, and after their deaths, her daughter names her rocket launcher after her in remembrance. In a minor manga appearance, the original version was portrayed with longer hair, while in the show she has a hairstyle somewhat similar to her daughter's. However, the manga versions of characters in here are not always a one-to-one of their portrayal in the game visually, so pointing this out is really just padding for an incredibly short little entry. Now up to 2, we have Sparta. Sparta is the father of Dante and Virgil, who passed his bloodline down to them. He's a demon who served Mundus long ago, but gained a sense of justice and rebelled against him and his armies, sealing the demon world off from the human one. Though he's not actually a part of the modern story, his impact on the world is a driving factor for many of its heroes and villains, specifically his sons Dante and Virgil. He sealed the gateway between realms with his own blood, and the only way to undo it is the blood of his twin sons. Though, in the games he also used the blood of a priestess who is a distant ancestor of Lady's, and her blood was needed for the ritual as well. While in the show, even though Mary is there for the ritual, they don't reference this weirdly. They both look quite similar, though like Dante and Virgil, his demon form lacks the demonic textures and details that would make him look as badass as he should be. And both versions disappeared from the world and are assumed to be deceased in the modern day, for reasons that are implied but not fully explored. Most of the major details are the same, except one major difference. In the game, Sparta was a part of his son's lives for at least a short amount of time, while in the show it is specifically stated that Dante does not have any memories of having ever met him. Another major difference is not any of the details about him, but the legacy of his heroic deeds. In the games, demons are usually just portrayed as straight-up evil monsters, making them very different than humans, who, as Dante says, have the gift of tears. In the show, though, the demons are basically just humans. Just some are bigger and meaner, becoming tyrannical, while others are small and weak, becoming victims to the bigger ones. So, by sealing away the demon world in the show, he may have saved humanity, but he doomed all those poor, innocent little demons trapped on the other side. So, in the games, he's just portrayed as being outright heroic and righteous, while in the show, the morality of his deeds are called into question, just like all the morality in the games. And now, the number 1 most well-adapted character in the Netflix Devil May Cry series is Eva. Eva is Dante and Virgil's mother and the wife of Sparta. She is the human half of their ancestry. She was a caring, loving mother and told her children of their father's great heroics. She gives her sons one half of Sparta's amulet and is soon after tragically killed by demons sent by Mundus while Dante is forced to watch. The game and show versions look nearly identical right down to the outfits they're portrayed in before their deaths. And the tragic death of both are the defining factor in Dante's life that drives him to fight and kill as many demons as possible. So, unlike most of the characters, including minor ones like Sparta and Virgil, nothing subversive or weird was done with Eva. She didn't turn out to be working with demons, it didn't turn out Sparta was abusive towards her, or she resented him leaving or some crap. She's just portrayed pretty closely to how she's always been portrayed in the franchise. A positive force for Dante, and one of the memories that most defines him. But don't worry, this show's got a second season coming. They can always fix that by revealing that when Trish shows up, she's actually an amnesiac Eva and ruin both characters. So there we go. What did we learn? Is this as bad of an adaptation as people are saying, or are they overreacting? In my opinion, if you wanted an adaptation of the games that respects the source material and brings the characters and themes into a different medium while staying true to the themes and atmosphere of the original games, this ain't it. Instead of timeless themes like the bonds of family and the corrupting desire of power, the show is about American political issues. The badass gothic vibe is replaced with a normal-looking contemporary world where most of the action takes place in the middle of the fucking day. The straightforward definitions of good and evil are replaced with the same kind of what even is good and evil kind of storytelling we've been seeing in adaptations for years now. And while a lot of the superficial elements of the characters are similar, the deeper elements that made those characters so beloved have been hollowed out and replaced with something completely different. However, I have to say, a faithful adaptation clearly was not the goal with this show. It's very specifically trying to cater itself towards a new, younger audience, and trying to appeal to what they believe the audiences of today think are cool, as opposed to the target audiences when the original games came out. The sexuality is toned down, the humor is toned up, and the morality is a lot less black and white. Many of the things on the checklist of what writers think modern audiences want. Though very different, it is less outright insulting than other Netflix adaptations like Masters of the Universe Revelations. And though I feel the writing can be a bit stupid at times, there are enough ideas and genuine moments to make the show not entirely devoid of substance, like He-Man was. What are your predictions for next season? Will things be more like the games or even less like them? Do you think they adapted the important parts of the characters pretty well, or do you think that these characters were complete bastardizations? If this show was your first introduction to the franchise and you loved it, let me know. I am always curious to hear the perspectives of people unfamiliar with the source material. To those of you new here, I do lists like this all the time. Go give them a watch if I've done one of a franchise you like. And if not, subscribe, and I swear my very next list is totally going to be one of your favorite franchises. And lastly, if you've got an adaptation you want to see this kind of thing done for, drop it below, and I'll add it to the ever-growing list. Until then, jackpot.